Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovias. We are brought to you by Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. We're typically inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. We're still in downtown Raleigh, just outside at Raleigh Country Club for the UNC Health Championship, Joe.
And we're still here with our corporate champions, Empire Eats.
Yes.
Empire Properties, Empire Eats. They're here on the 17th hole, as is Two Roosters.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're drinking something that's not from a corporate champion. You've had a couple of vodka transfusions already.
Empire Eats was in charge of these, so we're good with there.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
good,
those
good.
are our friends.
Yeah, I asked you what a transfusion was, and you were like, "It's purple drank, vodka, and something else."
Ginger ale.
And ginger ale. I was like, at 10:30 in the morning.
And you're like, "I'm in."
Okay, let's go. While we were waiting on Roy Williams, we're still technically waiting on Roy Williams. We'll see what happens with that. But he's here. You harassed him a little bit.
I did.
Got on his ass a little bit.
I coached him up too. I get credit.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's.
You saw the drive?
No, I saw. You were definitely giving him some pointers. But yeah, no, we're at UNC Health Championship. We're going to talk to Brian Krusoe, the tournament director, here in just a little bit. But one thing that I did notice while we were kind of hovering around Roy Williams, you never told me there were remote control golf carts. Not like a driving golf cart, but like the actual golf bag cart.
See, things I know about you. You are Johnny Technology. You love the latest in technology. This is why I've always kind of thought to myself, why don't you like golf? Golf is on the cutting edge of technology.
So we were waiting on the 9th, I see this little hand cart on its own.
Like an R2D4 or something. Yes.
It's an R,
right?
An R4.
Did I get that right?
An R4.
R4.
No, it's an R4 noodle.
Okay.
That's what it is. A balata. It's it's BB
R2D2.
balata. No, I know. I'm just making golf references with the Android names. No, so as I'm watching this guy walk up to the 9th green, I'm seeing this cart on its own. I'm like, whoa. What is happening right now? And our guy, Brendan, who we're going to talk to a little bit from the PGA Tour Superstore, he's like, yeah, I just don't know if that's a remote control one or it follows along with you. You put a little clip on. I'm like, wait a minute, it follows you?
Yeah.
What? How much? It's like $1,500 for one of those bad boys.
No, it's more than that.
Is it more than that?
He was lowballing you on that.
All right. So you're all about getting. See, here's where I would understand OG Media LLC expenses. You want to buy little foldable bikes.
Right.
With your neck, I would be completely okay with you getting one of these little carts, these little remote.
Oh,
you already have the watch.
I have a push cart.
Yeah.
That I push.
That's bad for your neck.
No, it's not. It's
Ease
good.
it up. Get the remote. I'm like basically telling you,
honestly,
man, drop $1,500 on that thing.
It's not 15. It's like 3.
Okay. Fine.
Now, honestly, if it was cheaper, I would have bought one because for real.
Yeah.
When I play golf, I do like to actually walk because it slows me down.
Makes sense.
You know me. I get fired up.
Yes, you
I
do.
get in my head.
Yes,
and then I can't swing, and then I'm in trouble. So I do actually like to walk.
Makes sense. All right. So we're here for the Corn Ferry Tour. Believe it or not, you can actually get on DraftKings right now and have a little fun while you're at the tournament, because I know that's what Giglio is about to do. Download that DraftKings Sportsbook right now. We've been talking about the NBA playoffs because with the Hurricanes out, hockey. I know hockey's still going on, but I'm trying to take advantage of the NBA playoffs, and you can do that right now on DraftKings. Download the app. Use the promo code OG24. New customers, download that Sportsbook app. Use the OG24 promo code. You bet $5, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 8777-185-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus, North Carolina only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Deposit and eligibility restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms. So as I'm walking around here, I could be looking at this thing live?
Yep. So on DraftKings, here's what I did. I punched in, you do the search, you do golf, and the UNC Health Championship odds come up. You get winner, you can get top 5.
Okay.
So there were 2 names that I like, two names that I've won money on before. I took Doc Redman at 80-1 to win the tournament. Doc Redman, a local. Shout out to Wildwood Green. Shout out to Clemp. son. He is also the youngest person in the history of this earth, nicknamed Doc.
Yeah.
So the doctor on a Ross course, I actually won money on him as a first-round leader at the Wyndham Championship before, which is also a Ross course. So give me the doctor at 80-1. And then I took Hammer and Hank Lebioda 90-1. Go Knowles, FSU. We got Florida State and Clemson. We just need a Carolina guy here. And we'll get all the ACC defectors on board. So those are the two guys I took this morning. Great odds. This is a great track. And I do think they'll tear it up. It's in great condition. The rain has softened it. The Ross greens that they redid 2 years ago are spectacular, but they're gettable.
Yeah.
This is, for these guys, this is a gettable track.
Okay, so we did an early OG Gambling Syndicate because Giglio already is on the DraftKings app as we're here at the UNC Health Open for at Raleigh Country Club. And Brian Krusoe is joining us. He is the tournament director here at the event. Brian, thanks for having us out.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate you coming out.
You're not surprised Giglio's already on the app the minute he showed up,
Not surprised, right? in the least.
I mean, you can't do it on the Pro-Am though, right? You can't get anything on the Pro-Am.
I'm sure Roy will give me some action if I go find him out there.
If you go find him.
I'll make fun of his broomstick putter, and he did get a new driver today. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Look at you sourced up.
I know.
Knowing exactly what
I wish I had a brand new driver
news,
too, man.
I guess it is breaking news. So there's really no good transition point for this particular topic. When the event is here, I know it's supposed to highlight Raleigh. It's supposed to highlight this course. You guys bringing it back here a couple of years ago. But at the same time, you're balancing that with the passing of Grayson Murray, who played in this event last year, who has connections to Raleigh. I think most people by now know those connections. So how do you balance this week with what had happened with Murray and his family and everything else?
Yeah, obviously it's a very sad thing that happened, and a tough situation because, like you said, we're here to hold a great event for our city, and we plan to do that. The weather's going to be great, but we're going to do that with Grayson in mind and remember him. The PGA Tour is here. We're gonna do some things throughout the tournament to honor Grayson and in his memory. So we're gonna have a fantastic event. But we're going to do that with Grayson in mind, and we'll have ribbons, things like that happening, something on the first tee, a golf bag with his name on it. Players and caddies will be able to write notes to his family. And so it's definitely, a tough thing this past weekend, but we're going to keep him in our thoughts as we go through the week.
It was such a great event last year to see him out, and it really, the way that he had seemingly turned a corner with his life and the way that he was playing, winning on the tour this year. I'm sure when you saw him win out at the Sony Open, that gave you a little bit of a, because when I think of Grayson too, I think of him when he was in high school playing out at Wakefield in this event.
Yeah, I mean, he played in this event as a teenager, and I think at the time was one of the youngest to make a cut on the Korn Ferry Tour. I think he was the first McConnell Golf Scholar back when he was a kid, so he definitely has roots here with the McConnell members and with the community. Almost won at Wakefield. I think he maybe shot 61 or 62 in the final round. Tied third last year. Had a chance to win. So he's obviously had a lot of great finishes here, and a lot of people have memories of watching him play and do things at clinics. And he was a great guy, and he'll be missed.
And you might think, well, Raleigh. He's from Raleigh. But these guys, they know each other. They're the ones who spend time with each other almost more than their families. And I saw Harry Higgs, after he won last week on the Korn Ferry Tour, give a really great, heartfelt talk about what not only Grayson meant to him, but also just kind of like saying, like, be nice to people, just reach out to people, because you don't know what other people are going through, and you don't, it's very fleeting. We're all day to day, right?
Yep. That's right, and like you said, these guys are out here competing, but they're doing what they love, and Grayson loved the game, and they'll be thinking of him. Carter Jenkins, I think Grayson caddied for him back in the day when they were we're younger, and these guys obviously spend a lot of time together on the road. So it impacts them in a different way for sure. He was a friend of theirs. But like I said, we're gonna have a fantastic week. We're gonna remember him and move forward.
You don't remember all of the interviews you do, but I feel like you remember mine because I told you these guys were going to torch this place last year, and they didn't. And you had a little bit of pride when I brought that up to you recently. You're like, I
told you
I think it held up a little bit better than you thought, Giglio. I got a chance to play 2 weeks ago. The aprons look 1,000 times better than they did last year. The course looks like it's playing in amazing shape. What do we think? Where are we setting the number this week?
Well, the course is fantastic, and we've had, I think, 6 inches of rain in the last 4 or 5 days. So before that, it was really firm and fiery. Even with the softer conditions, we're going to get some breeze, and it's going to start firming up every day that we progress because it looks like low 80s and a light breeze every day. I mean, the weather is absolutely perfect. So we'll see. I think it'll still be in a similar range. I don't know if it'll be single digits that wins, but this course will provide a lot of challenges for these pros. So I'm going to say 12 under.
12. Okay. A little bit even lower than last year.
With all that rain, how does that affect this week?
It won't affect much. We've got our Pro-Am happening today, so people are walking, no golf carts out. But other than that, it won't affect once people are here on site. The course will be green and beautiful.
Okay.
And people will be able to get around and watch the entire course. So not a lot of impact moving forward, just some things early in the week.
So this is a segment I like to call Explain Like I'm 5. And last year, Grayson Murray uses this event. He's a PGA Tour pro, but he's using this event. So how does the Korn Ferry, for those who are unfamiliar, what kind of field is mixed? What kind of field is using this as a jumping off point? Who's using this as something to get even to another space? Like, where does this sit when somebody comes out here who's never been to an event like this before? Where does this sit on that PGA level?
You'll see names that you recognize.
You'll see names. So how does that work?
Sure. You'll see names you recognize, but this is one of the top tours in the world, really. I mean, you've got the PGA Tour and, the DP Tour, the European Tour. But outside of that, it probably falls in line as maybe the third or fourth best tour really in the world. So these guys are younger guys primarily, and it's a full tour that they're on for the whole season, just like the PGA Tour. So they'll play a full season of events, and the top 30 guys at the end of the season will advance directly to the PGA Tour. So we've got all the top, right in the middle of the season now. So all the top guys on the Korn Ferry Tour will be here. Most of the top 30 guys will be here. We had some eight qualifiers on Monday, but that rounds out the field. And, as these guys move through the season, that's what they're trying to do is get in that top 30 and make it to the PGA Tour. Okay. But these are guys you'll see next year playing on the PGA Tour, winning on the PGA Tour, and the level of play is, they're really exciting to watch.
I remember during the pandemic, that's when I really started gambling a lot on golf. And the Korn Ferry Tour had an ad with Will Zalatoris and Sahith Theegala, and I'm like, who are these guys? Well,
now you know.
They get on the tour, and they've torn it up.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, and Cameron Young and some of these other guys.
Scotty Scheffler played in our tournament not that long ago. Okay. So, you'll see guys here that in a couple years will be, superstars. So it's a neat way to come out and see them on their way up.
And the doctor's here. I just put some money on the doctor.
Wait, who's the doctor?
Doc Redman, a local.
The doctor is in the house.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a guy who's been on the tour, kind of, he's trying to work his way back up.
Okay.
That top 30 it's a big ticket for a lot of these guys. That's what they're shooting
is Fat
for.
Paris out there right now?
No Fat Paris.
No Fat Paris.
I don't think.
Okay. Are there any influencers on the golf course right now?
Well, they may think they are. Some of them that are out there. We'll have some out during the week promoting. There's obviously a lot of golf influencers. We've got some coming out and promoting the tournament. So we hope so.
So do you think Giglio can, if this podcast thing isn't working out for him, do you think he can?
Is it working out for him?
I mean, it's working out.
Yeah.
I would say so. But I know deep down he wants to be a golf influencer.
Sure.
You want the freshest polos.
Yeah.
You want Rhoback to sponsor everything you do. Yeah. I'm wearing the Rhoback shorts right
Stitch?
now.
That's
Stitch too.
That's your money. Yes.
Yeah. Rhoback's ours.
Brian, I don't mess with your money. I prefer you didn't mess with mine.
Now look, Stitch is local. I mean, I'm just saying. Right. My wife did some work for them back in the day.
Sponsor.
Exactly. So we're gonna keep everybody.
I'll allow that one.
We'll keep everybody happy on this one. But we'll close on a lighthearted note here. What exactly makes a golf influencer, and how's that affected how these events get run? Like, do you invite them out here? Do you see any sort of like how does that work?
Well, there's obviously a lot of golf influencers now, and it's how people, see what's going on in the neighborhood or what, brands and things. So, they'll be out here sometimes promoting the tournament, and mainly they just help us raise awareness of what's happening because they know what happens here at the tournament, how much fun it is, what's happening out on the course for people. So they help us get the word out.
I'm an influencer. You ready? 17th hole.
Yes.
Just like last year?
Yes.
We got 2 roosters. Did they make you a specific golf flavor this week?
We're working on that maybe for next year, but they're going to have 6 great flavors. They're going to be here Friday through Sunday.
My roosters are here.
Corporate champion.
Our roosters.
Yes.
Us, Predator Meme.
See, corporate synergy.
Empire Eats is out there on 17 too, right?
Empire Eats is doing a lot of their favorites from some of their local restaurants. They'll all be out at 17. We'll have Tito's Stillhouse there that's free to get into, a covered tent right on the 17th green.
Yeah, that's the spot.
Yeah, that's a great place to sit. There's all kinds of places to sit and hang out with your friends or family that are free to get into, covered tents, bleachers, all those types of things that are, right on the green and things like that.
And last one, what are you going to max 7 out on this week?
Oh,
the par 3.
Number 6.
6.
I think they use the back tee one day. It's maybe 285. So a driver and a wedge for
That's stupid. 285 for real?
Yeah.
Wow. And they won't even hit driver, will they?
No, they'll hit hybrids or 3-woods. Probably,
and what will the shortest 9 will be?
I'm not sure. They might move the tee up a little bit so they can drive it, but most of the guys, even from the back tee on 9, can get up near the green. I mean, a lot of these guys, it's fun to come watch them hit drivers. They hit it over 300 yards, and it's pretty wild how far they hit the ball now.
I love 9. 9's my favorite hole. One of these years you'll finish on 9 just from me.
We'll see.
Take it under consideration.
Brian, thanks for putting up with us.
No, we love having you.
Thanks for having us out.
The weather looks absolutely perfect.
It is. Absolutely is.
Great thing for people to come out and do this week and weekend.
All right. Hopefully everything goes well this weekend, and we'll do this again next year.
Absolutely, as long as you keep having us.
With Joe and his newfound golf influencing.
You're welcome anytime.
You're gonna see a completely different Joe next year. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna have 100,000 Instagram followers.
That's right. Amazing thing. Can't wait.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, guys.
Housekeeping. And it's brought to you by Enovana. Check them out. ENOVANA.com. Green cleaning. They were at the house yesterday. I have the Roadcaster, which means I don't have the music lined up. Do you want to sing it?
Let's do it. If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it green clean with Enovana.
Ding. There you go. Podcast Festival tickets are on sale right now. Go to Rialto, go to that website, you go to eTix, look up the Podcast Festival, the Sports Podcast Festival. I know we're near a sellout. We had robust ticket sales over a holiday weekend, which is great. We've got...
Are you doing a radio thing right now?
We got Shutdown Fullcast.
Are you doing a radio thing? We're like, no, it's close. It's sold out.
Hold on a second. We got Shutdown Fullcast. We got Hand in the Dirt. And we got us. You mentioned radio things. Yesterday, I asked, all right, can we get like Debbie Yao to show up and like just expose all the secrets of college football?
Working on it.
Maybe we can. Maybe we can. I thought about a live participation, and we bring back for one day and one day only. You're full of shit, Giglio.
Oh, Nora?
Yeah.
Oh, we can bring her down there. Yeah.
Just
absolutely.
saying. Yeah. Do it live.
We'll do it live.
We'll do a little audience participation. I know that's what Shutdown Fullcast does. We got to put our spin on it. I think we bring it back.
I like it.
So go to etix.com. Now, you were asking if I'm just saying this
right.
to kind of like
Are we close?
Cause a panic.
Are we close?
My understanding, I don't have access to the ticket sales. Dimitri does. My understanding is, yeah, we're pretty close. Cool. So let's go ahead and sell this thing out. I know some people are kind of on the fence because they don't know what August 24th is going to look like. Based on how y'all are on timelines, when I see your social media feeds, yesterday you were counting down 100 days until football, NFL football. I know how you are. Week 0, you're like, sorry, family. Yeah. It's over. So spend it with us over at the Rialto.
I also bought 2 to give away.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. That'll be a lot of fun. So go to eTix Sports Podcast Festival. It's brought to you by Breeze Through. You can check out Breeze Through across the triangle. I know you hit the Breeze Through on your way over here.
Pool Road, right down the street. Great location, man.
So check them out.
Coffee, drinks, you name it.
breezethrough.com. Download the app. You can save money on gas, which is really, really important. And make sure you check out the Breeze Through food truck as well. Sometimes the Oak City Grill shows up to Breeze Throughs. You can see them at some breweries as well. But Breeze Through has just about everything that you need. We are on a golf course, which means Joe is a stay ready all-star today.
I am.
Rowback.com. OG20 is the promo code. Use that to save 20% off your order. I am wearing.
Show them.
I got the shorts on.
Which ones are those?
These are these are just like the basic everyday shorts.
Okay.
And I also have the gym shorts to go along with it. These are incredibly comfortable. They're very, very light.
Are they lined?
No, they're not lined. I don't do lined.
No, I'm just asking because some that are super light, they put a lining in.
No, I don't need. I don't like the hammock.
Perfect.
Not my thing.
I don't either. So that's a selling point.
Yeah. So, they specify. You can get ones that are lined or unlined.
Okay.
Like, I know that's the case with the gym shorts.
Yep.
So head on over to rowback.com. Use that promo code OG20.
Stay ready, man.
Stay ready, baby. That's what it's all about. And let's say you weren't ready. You got hit with something. That's where you contact Whitaker and Hamer. WH.lawyer. They're always ready to represent you.
I wasn't ready for that reckless driving ticket in downtown.
No, you were not,
pulled over by a golf cart.
No, you were not. So check them out. WH.lawyer. Again, that's WH.lawyer.
Only me.
Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Wait a minute, Joe. Is that transfusion number 3?
No, I would never incriminate myself on air.
It's transfusion number 4. It's transfusion number 4.
Yeah, clearly. Somebody hit the Tito's.
That was a non-answer, a non-denial denial.
Whew. Fair enough. Anyway, Luke DeCock joining us now on the Heister Automotive Group hotline.
I have had 0 transfusions this morning. But the day ain't over yet.
Well, I mean, you missed it because I think Joe was 3 quick transfusions in when he saw Roy Williams walking up 9 here at Raleigh Country Club, and he started to harass him. What'd you tell him?
Well, he was in the beach.
Yeah.
That was last weekend. Memorial Day was last weekend. Yeah. Not supposed to be on the beach in a scramble.
Sure.
Damn, man.
Then he didn't respond to your text, and his response to you was, I respond to people I like via text. So, I mean, we kind of all know where we stand. All right.
That was good.
So, Luke, Joe and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I know you and I have kind of talked about the machinations of PNC Arena and what could potentially be in store for the front office. And I guess the best way I describe Don Waddell's resignation from the Carolina Hurricanes and now him being hired by the Columbus Blue Jackets, it was a matter of surprised but not surprised at the same time. Is that kind of an accurate description of what we saw last week?
Yeah, I because I don't know that anyone should be that surprised. He's been in this role for a long time. He's doing business and hockey. He reports to an owner who's very involved. And when the Columbus job opened up, it was a chance for him to run his own show and build his own team and not have to worry about selling tickets or whether the cooler behind the concession stand is leaking. It gave him the opportunity to, he no longer has to park the forklift. He can just go be a hockey guy. And it's, I think his time here in Carolina earned him that opportunity. It's sort of redemptive from the Thrashers era. And obviously he dealt with some ownership issues there. But it's I think the reaction I've seen of sort of low-level panic of the architect of the Hurricanes' success has left. I think Don Waddell was indispensable. The Hurricanes were built by committee, not like in a bad way, like the old, build a horse by committee and you get a camel. But a lot of people were involved, whether it was Eric Tulsky or Rod Brindamore, Darren York, Rick Dudley and Paul Krapelka, 2 sort of old school type hockey types at the beginning. All of them, Justin Williams now, all of them feeding info to Tom Dundon, who, along with Waddell, was sort of the primary decision maker. Now, Waddell was tasked with implementing a lot of those decisions, whether they were on the business side or making trade calls or talking to agents. And in that sense, his Rolodex and his credibility in the game are what are going to be the hardest to replace. I mean, it's going to take 2 people to replace him because there's not going to be someone who can run the hockey side of things and do the business side of things the way he did. It was just a quirk of the fact that, Peter Karmanos, one of his smartest moves as owner, brought Don Well in to hire the business operations after Jim Rutherford left. Well, Ron Francis became the GM, not one of his smartest moves. And, then Waddell becomes interim GM when Francis leaves and then gets the head job and has stayed up until now. So he's put in his time. He's built a solid base for the franchise. And he will be very hard to replace. But it's not like when Rutherford left or even when Ron Francis left, where you felt like, oh, this was one man's vision and now there's going to be a swerve. I don't think the vision for the way the team is built is going to change him a ton. Yeah. I think it needs to change incrementally, but this is not some huge swerve. There's a ton of continuity in the system.
Yeah. I'm actually not worried about the hockey part. You go to all of these Centennial Authority meetings. I mean, Luke, that ain't for soft people.
No, it's not.
No.
Philip Rivers, next general manager, Carolina Hurricanes.
The hockey stuff, I'm pretty sure will be taken care of. I think Don had a nice touch with the authority.
Yeah, and look, even pre-Dundon, the last lease agreement that sort of kept the team here and set the stage for everything that's happened since, Don Waddell was the point man on that. And Tom McCormick and Philip Isley will tell you that the past and current chairman of the Centennial Authority will tell you that dealing with Don as a go-between owners and whatever was essential to those processes and keeping the team, maybe not keeping the team here in sort of the big picture, but laying the foundation for the growth that's going to happen for the team in the arena and the area now. Don Waddell was indispensable to that. And look, it goes to his contacts at the NHL and getting Gary Bettman on board with that stuff. Don Waddell is the kind of guy who Gary Bettman does not mind picking up the phone when he calls. There are a lot of people in the game who Gary Bettman does not want to pick up the phone when they call. So it is like on the business side of things. How do you need to find someone who gets the market, who gets hockey, who gets the really Byzantine politics of the Arena Authority and NC State and all of those moving parts to manage that, because Dundon is never going to be that hands-on in that area. You've got to find someone who gets all those things and has a vision. And Waddell is a pretty successful businessman in his own life. I don't think he was ever sort of this magnificent CEO who everything he touched turned to gold, but he did a terrific job of taking a franchise that really struggled on the business side and is now very competent at it.
That's where I was going to go with this, in that I think everybody who follows the Carolina Hurricanes understands that their structure is different than a traditional NHL team or how we've come to know NHL teams up until this point. Tom is a disruptor. He wants to do things a little bit differently. He wants the ultimate say. I get all those things. And for the most part, I think all of Tom's moves where we all go, what are you doing? Why would you get rid of this person? What about this? And what about that? He's proven to be right more often than not when it comes to these particular actions. It helps that the team continues to win. It helps that Rod Brindamore continues to be your coach. So the curiosity that I have, I don't really get the sense that anything on the hockey operations side is going to change. Like Eric Tulsky is, I don't know, maybe he'll get a fancy new title or whatever it is. But you have to have a very specific type of person with a very particular set of skills that can replace what Don Waddell was doing. As Joe mentioned, a touch, a bedside manner, a good front-facing person. And I do wonder if at some point, Tom recognizes that, yeah, there's the number you put into the spreadsheet and the production that comes along with it, but there is something to be said for a little bit more of a human side to things. I mean, am I off base in thinking that would be the hardest thing to replace?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, the GM and or president, if these end up being two people again, are the faces of the franchise locally, and Jim Rutherford understood that. I don't know that Ron Francis ever did. You don't know. No, he didn't. But that's just my own.
I
mean, I know he didn't. I'm trying to be gentle here. No, Ron Francis wanted nothing to do with that.
Put Ron in the hall, you coward.
which is not in the job description, but. No, and look, the last time when Waddell was promoted, one of the candidates who went a long way in meetings with Dundon before they decided to promote Waddell, which worked out great, was Bill Zito, who's built, quite frankly, a more successful franchise over the last 2 years in Florida than the Hurricanes have been. And he's done it with the help of Rick Dudley and Paul Krapelka, who helped get things started here. So there are people out there who are good at this, who will be interested in that job. Obviously, Tulsky's going to be a candidate. Because he's been a candidate elsewhere and he's been an important part of building what they have. But I do think whether it's Tulsky or someone else, having someone who has a Waddell-like Rolodex, who has fingers in the game, who has access to the corridors of power. Dundon is never going to be fully accepted in the NHL because A, he doesn't want to be, and B, he's going to do things that serve his own interests, not the league's interests, which is not a criticism in any way.
Nope.
A lot of times you would argue that the NHL's interests don't align with the interests of the Carolina Hurricanes and haven't for 25 years, Gary Bettman's steadfast support of the franchise here aside. The Board of Governors does not always act in the Hurricanes' best interest. But, I think it would help to have someone who's either been an agent or at least high up in an assistant GM position who is familiar to other GMs, who's familiar to agents. And you can do that sort of smooth talking, glad handing, whether that's as the new general manager or as an assistant general manager. Darren York is going to have the scouting covered. Tom Dundon trusts him. Tulsky and his analytics team are going to continue to do that. Dundon trusts them. Brindamore will continue to have a voice. And now that he's got the new contract, he's got a little bit of a bully pulpit there to help reshape the team in this sort of transition window they're in now. But I do think it would help to have someone who's got a little bit of credibility in the game just to act as a front man for the franchise, not just in the market, but around the league and with agents and with players and with GMs. Because I think if there's one criticism that agents and GMs and people around the hockey world have of the Hurricanes, it's sometimes they kind of want to go play by their own tune.
Yeah.
And Don Waddell was a really skilled, a master at smoothing over some of those wrinkles.
Early stages here, Luke, but give me one player you would be surprised if the Hurricanes do resign, and one player you expect them just to let go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be difficult to re-sign Brady Shea and another one is Jalen Chatfield, because they're both going to get more on the open market than the Hurricanes are willing to pay them. It's not a reflection of either player. In fact, I think Jalen Chatfield's a great fit here in this system, and I wish there was sort of common ground there to bring him back. Same thing with Shea. I think the player, this is the one that's kind of been the biggest sticking point because it seems like it should have happened. There just doesn't seem to be a lot of common ground between Brett Pesce and the Hurricanes, but given his injury history and the fact that he's a right shot defenseman, I think that's one where it does end up getting done in the end. I think he's just such a good fit here. And he's going to get, even taking a hometown discount, probably going to get more term here because of his sort of history of issues with durability than other teams would be willing to give. Shea's the moon. Shea can ask for the moon. I mean, he's a legit top four, maybe a top pairing on a different team defenseman with a lot of tread left on his tires. On the defensive side, I see that. I think Marty Necas is gone. When you talk about GM talking about our number one need is a right shot center, and Marty Necas thinks he's a right shot center. There's clearly a gulf there between what the Hurricanes think Necas can do and what Necas thinks he can do. It's ironic. I mean, I think the last game against the Rangers in Game 6 was Marty Necas' best playoff game as a Hurricane. He was physical. He was throwing his body around. But over the course of his career, Rob Brindamore and the coaching staff clearly can't count on him to be a 200-foot player. And we've seen that the number of times he's the last guy in the picture after an opposing goal, trailing the play. It's just the confidence that the Hurricanes would need to have to make that commitment to Marty Necas isn't there. And he has value because he is a tremendously skilled player.
Yeah, from a technical sense, Luke, as an RFA, that just means someone signs him and they don't match?
No, you can trade the rights of an RFA. A lot of times you'll let a team negotiate a new contract with a player, give them permission to talk. He's going to get a new contract somewhere. He's not going to end up UFA, and no one's going to sign him to an offer sheet. So whether it's a sign and trade or the Hurricanes give someone permission to talk to him, this is more the mechanics of that are relatively simple. He's going to get a new contract. It's just a question of, is it here, is it elsewhere, and what the mechanics of that end up being. But his rights, even as an unsigned RFA, are extremely valuable. It's not like trading the rights to negotiate with a UFA ahead of July 1st. Marty Necas is not as valuable as he would be if he were under contract for 2 years, but he still has a ton of trade value, the trade value you would expect him to have.
Things I've learned following baseball: cap space is valuable. So you can lose a guy like Jake Gensel or Michael Bunting in this case, right? Essentially, this is a lot. But because you can use that cap space to go out and sign somebody else. Is there someone better than Gensel potentially on the market, or are they kind of locked into Gensel or bust?
I didn't see enough from Jake Gensel in his time here to think that I want to commit that kind of money to that player. They may decide that based on the market and what else is out there and trades and all of that. Sometimes that cap space is an asset because you can go trade for a Matthew Tkachuk and then sign him to a long-term deal. It's not always the UFA that you're going to get. Sometimes it's having the cap space to trade for a player who's like I don't know, UC Saros, who's going to be a very expensive player. He's got 1 year left on his deal, and whoever trades for him is going to want to sign him to an extension.
Re-up him.
Yeah. So, sometimes, it's not just player for player or what's available on the free agent market, because what's available on the free agent market is you are overpaying.
Yeah.
It's like buying a house, right? Mm-hmm. Multiple offers, seller wants answers in 24 hours, $50,000 due diligence, like UFA market's insane. So sometimes it's, can you trade for a Marty Necas type player who's an unsigned RFA who can't come to an agreement with his team? Can you do a Jesperi Kotkaniemi offer sheet? And that's another issue the Hurricanes are going to have to sort out, because they're paying a fourth line player second line money. And we all know how we got there, and it's fine. And it was worth the gamble. But at this point, it hasn't paid off. That's wasted cap space, paying Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Love the kid, plays hard, honest player. Just not what you would expect from the third overall pick in the draft at this point in his career. So, yeah. So to me, the calculus they're going to have to do on Gensel, probably they may look at it differently. They may say, look, give this guy a full season with Aho and Svechnikov, and he's going to score 60 goals, and that's worth $9 million. If that's the decision they make, that's fine. I didn't see it while he was here. I mean, certainly he scored 2 really nice goals against the Rangers at the Garden, but I never felt like he was the answer that they needed to break this sort of playoff scoring hoodoo. I mean, that's why you brought him in, and to me, it didn't happen. So why would you double down on that? But if they do re-sign him, look, he's a good player. He scores goals in the league. Can you do better with that money? Maybe not. In which case, it would be smart to re-sign him.
Did you just tease me with Juicy Saros?
Yeah, no, I mean, here's the thing. Here's where
It's my white whale.
Here's where I'm going to disagree with Tom Dundon and Eric Tulsky and I don't know, maybe Darren Yark. They don't believe in paying money for goaltenders. They believe all goaltenders are roughly equivalent. I'm oversimplifying here. Someone's going to call me and yell at me. They believe
they don't watch the podcast. Don't worry
about it. They believe you can get good goaltenders without paying marquee money. And if you do pay marquee money, you may end up in a situation like Sergei Bobrovsky last year before the playoffs, where he played like crap and lost his job to Alex Lyon, of all people.
Right.
Another Hurricanes legend. So yeah. I get that part of their philosophy. I think when you look at the last 3 years and why this team in its window to contend, because there's going to be a retrenching now. Mm-hmm. This is a peaks and valleys situation. We've exited a peak. Probably, I shouldn't say for sure. We're headed into a little bit of a valley. What's the one thing? And I would argue, yes, goal scoring, obviously, but I would argue they lost to 3 teams that had better goaltenders. And at a certain point, how many times do you say, we're going to try to reinvent this wheel? Yeah. Or do you find a way to trade Marty Necas and whoever to Nashville to get a guy you know is an ace and has another 3 or 4 years left and try to make a run with that guy in net?
I feel like I want to revisit this conversation when we get a better sense of what they're going to do this summer. But in just kind of processing this conversation, all right, you don't want to overpay for goaltending. Cool. If you don't want to overpay for goaltending, well, you better get dudes who finish. All right, well, you've added guys you thought were going to help you finish, but they didn't consistently finish. As you said, kind of shoulder shruggy about Jake Gensel in the postseason, why they brought him here. Okay, well, if you keep adding guys that theoretically should be able to finish and score a bunch of goals, why does it dry up in the postseason? Is that a philosophy? Do they have to kind of reassess how they go about things? You know, look, man, I don't want to knuckle drag. I don't want to knuckle drag oversimplify these things, but either you're going to stop the other team from scoring a bunch of goals on you, or you're going to score more goals than they do, and they have not been able to do that consistently in the playoffs.
Here's the thing. I think this is what it gets down to. Okay. This is what I wrote right after the end of the year. They got to reevaluate personnel. Do we have the right players to do this, which is the conversation we've been having?
Yes.
They have to evaluate philosophy, which is what you were hinting at. Is going after all skill at the expense of everything else the right move? I don't necessarily disagree with that. If you look at the defensive cores of teams that have won Stanley Cups, there isn't a lot of beef there necessarily. You can win a Stanley Cup. I think they need Snydery. I think they need what Michael Bunting would have brought. I think they need that Vincent Trocheck, Brad Marchand, get under your skin. Yeah. Now they got to find a player who has the skill to fit in here to do it. They thought Bunting was the guy, and he just never quite fit defensively. But I think they need that. But I don't know that they need to go sign a bunch of 6'5" guys. Like, I don't think Matt Rempe helps this group. Which, by the way, can we just laugh at the phrase in an unnamed New York paper that described how the Rangers are struggling against heavier teams like Carolina and Florida. The first time in the Rod Brindamore era, I mean, they're a heavy team on the forecheck. I mean, they grind you down, but like Marty Necas checking you with his butt and Teuvo Terrell, noted tough guy Teuvo Terrell, like,
dude. We'll get out of here on this. It was.
Let me make one before we move on. One point. The last point, which is what you referred to, is style. Does shot volume that works really well when you're up against the Flyers in the regular season work against Igor Shesterkin or Sergei Bobrovsky? And I think the evidence indicates it is not as effective. And so the question then becomes, what do you need to change? Really, what does Rod Brindamore need to change to become more effective in the postseason? Because I think when you look at their regular season results, both even strength and on the power play, piling up a bunch of shots against mediocre to good goaltenders works. But what the flaw in that philosophy is, Igor Shesterkin may be the best goalie in the league at stopping low danger chances. Yeah. So you've got to figure out a way to turn some of these shots into higher danger chances. Is that skill, like Giglio just said? Is that philosophy, getting bigger players who stand in front of the net? Or is it style? And, none of that's going to change the fact that when the power play goes stagnant, they stand around and pass it around the perimeter and play ring around the rosy for 2 minutes. That's on the players.
Yes.
We can talk about, Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis and all these guys, and they are great players and stuff. They've got to fix the power play. That's on them. It didn't help that Brent Burns, spiraled at the end of the year. But anyway, that's those three things to me are all need reevaluating. And theoretically, they didn't change coaches, so we know some of that's not going to change. But I do think that with the change in GMs gives you the opportunity to maybe take a different kind of look at that.
Makes sense. No, I was just going to say, I thought it was interesting when we were doing all those after darks and the Rangers fans got all up in, like, they basically got the algorithm to feed them stuff. And once the Ranger fans who were done trolling got out of the system, I thought it was interesting that there were New York hockey fans that said, yeah, man, I keep checking your stuff out because you guys actually talk hockey. I was like, oh, what a concept. New York, media capital of the world, apparently still doesn't know how to talk about hockey, but the Southerners do. Go figure. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up, man. I appreciate you. And we'll talk about this a little bit more when we get an idea of what that roster is going to look like. Take it easy, man.
You got it, guys.
I feel like we need to take a break from the hockey break that we just had. It was a long conversation, robust conversation with Luke DeCock of the News and Observer. Maybe you need a smoothie break. Maybe you just need to get something on the go. All these things can be done at Happy and Hale. Let's take a break.
Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
We are not singers. So check them out. North
People
Hills.
Love our jingles, though.
North Hills location. Out in Durham, off of 6 Forks as well.
Get the app. Order on your app. Get yourself a free smoothie when you sign up for the app. And then if it's your birth month or within a month of your birthday, you get a free bowl.
I feel like with you on the golf course, there's some sort of CBD cream or maybe some sort of CBD gem that you can take to kind of ease things up for you after.
I got to tell you.
A recovery CBD.
Even better, those sodas, the 10 milligrams. Go hit them up, man.
Nature's Relief Hemp Store. Check it out. naturesreliefhempstore.com. RELEAF. When you drop on by all means, tell them that you heard it here on the podcast. They love to hear that you heard it on the podcast. We love to hear that you told them that you heard it on the podcast. But the most important thing about Nature's Relief, they've got just about everything. It can be overwhelming. That's probably the biggest barrier of entry for a lot of people who want to check this stuff out. But the cool part about Nature's Relief is they got incredible staff that can walk you through this stuff. When we did our show from there, it was great. They walked Joe through all the various things, and they explained why Joe was sleepy time in the chair.
The hippie sips.
The hippie sips did you in, man. naturesreliefhempstore.com. And when you wake up from that nap, maybe you got munchies. That's when you hit the Two Roosters, man. TwoRoosters.com. As we said earlier,
they're here.
Corporate champs. They're
17th hole, between 17 and 18. Go hit them up, man.
So go check that out.
Best ice cream there is. It's not even close anymore.
So TwoRoosters.com is the website.
Lightning round.
Now, I do not have lightning round. I don't have the sound effects, but I do have the voice changer, so we can go.
Lightning round from Raleigh Country Club.
We'll keep this truly lightning round because we're going to talk about the PGA Tour Superstore here in a second. So I believe it was Dick Hoops Weiss. Hold on.
Lightning round item number 1.
Dick Hoops Weiss had put out a tweet where he was hearing rumors that Utah was actually not going to go to the Big 12 and they were going to do a crazy Ivan and zig while everybody was zagging and end up in the ACC, Joe. This put Utah in a position where they had to release a statement saying, no, we are committed to the Big 12. Man, it is May 29th, y'all. Can we just kind of tease these conference realignment things out a little bit till we get to ACC kickoff?
Yeah, that's
all
the
I
time.
ask.
That's the official time.
When it's middle of June and there ain't shit going on, that's when I need Hoops Weiss to give me the Utah nugget. Not now. That's all I ask.
Boy, that would be right up Jim Phillips' alley. Hey, what other shitty school can we get to add to the ACC?
Goodness.
Utah. Good call. Sorry, Mark. My bad.
Yeah, shout out to Mark Armstrong. Lightning round item number 2.
We got SEC spring meetings taking place right now, which means Greg
King of the world, man.
King of the world, Greg Sankey is doing his thing. Although I did want to highlight
the Emperor.
Lightning
shoots out of that guy's fingers, man.
I did want to highlight one thing. Actually, there's 2 things that are coming out of SEC meetings that you would find interesting. The first one is they're actually going to make injury reports a thing.
I saw that.
Player availability.
Yeah.
Because we can't call it an injury report.
No.
But player availability.
And thank you. Please and thank you.
Yeah. Now, I don't usually praise Greg Sankey because I think that Greg Sankey is directly tied to what you see as the destruction of college athletics, all right, and the destruction of various conferences. However, Greg Sankey did say that this private equity, private capital stuff is not stuff you want to mess with because, as he said, I'm paraphrasing here, they're going to want that money back. Again, I know you like to pat yourself on the back when it comes to being right.
Yeah.
But at least there are some college administrators, including one conference commissioner, that's saying, dude, you better do some due diligence on how this works because I just want a conference commissioner, and maybe Greg Sankey will do it, to look straight in the camera and say, hey, I would like somebody in the athletic department who's flirting with the idea of private capital or private equity to look at the landscape and tell me the one thing successful that has come out of private equity.
I tell you all the time.
Tell me the one thing.
I tell you all the time. No, there is no such thing as a free lunch.
Absolutely not.
I won't even take a free hat from our sponsors because I don't want to owe you.
Lightning round item number 3? Yeah, I think it
sounds right.
Yeah, 3 is right. 3 is right.
I thought the Rangers were the only team allowed to win in overtime, Joe.
My tickets really needed Florida to get their head out of their ass in overtime, and I'm glad that they did.
They did.
I got to tell you something, though.
Yeah.
I might want to alert our friends from the Rangers YouTube section.
Mm-hmm.
Shesterkin was great last night. He was really good last night. And I know they lost, but he was really, really good.
It was a bad pound situation. As a friend of the program texted me, actually, you'd appreciate this. I'm going to keep the name innocent to protect them here. But I thought you would actually appreciate this this text that I got at 10:04 last night. My God, the dick riding for Shesterkin on ESPN right now with the puke face emoji.
But he was.
I know.
He was great last night.
I know. I thought you would appreciate that.
I'll elevate him to that level last night. I was appreciative of the way that he played. I am glad that Florida won. Have we talked about the fact that the ice at the Garden is total and complete crap?
Yeah.
And that it's affecting the scoring in their games.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest arena in the history of the world.
That's what I've been told.
Ice is for shit.
That's what I've been told.
And why is there suddenly more scoring in Florida?
What?
Where hockey doesn't belong.
Weird.
This is all Billy Joel's fault.
No.
Get out and Hackensack, motherfucker.
My favorite speaking of Hackensack, my favorite thing that I ever heard out of a Billy Joel concert, I think this was at the Bank of America show a couple years ago, and there was somebody talking about, yeah, my mom says she dated Billy Joel, And of course, I'm thinking here, going, I bet you there's if you're of a
Long Island.
I was going to say, if you're of a certain age, I'm sure you all dated Billy Joel at some point.
Not a looker though, dude.
What, that guy?
Yeah.
Don't have to be. When you
I'm
got
just
talented.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Uptown Girl.
Great polls of all time.
Yeah,
Christy
absolutely.
Brinkley.
Absolutely.
And he was with Del McPherson before Christy Brinkley.
Man,
What?
talent goes a long way.
The Riz.
You're in
Certain
timeout.
charm.
You are in timeout.
Yeah, you didn't like that.
Minnesota, last item in the lightning round.
Gentlemen sweep. That what we're getting?
Oh, Dally? Yeah, I mean,
I think so.
what's his name's hurt. I mean, he's laboring through it. Doncic's laboring through it last night. I think they'll get it done. Again, Kyrie Irving. And
which means if that's what's happening with Dallas, everything's all looking Boston, right? It's a war of attrition. Just saying.
I like Dallas in the matchup with Boston. I like Boston in a matchup with Minnesota.
Gotcha.
But this is all about your second banana.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all in agreement in that. You don't need a big 3 anymore. You need a big 2.
You need a big 2.
But your second needs to be really good. And Jaylen Brown, to me, I feel like is actually the best player. LeVelle Moton likes to tell me that the reason Brown is better than Tatum is because Tatum's taking up all of that number 1 defensive assignment.
We'll talk to LeVelle Moton, head coach at NC Central, in just a little bit. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline right now from the PGA Tour Superstore, he is Brendan Lindgren, and I feel like I am so not dressed the part today compared to everybody that we've seen here.
I feel like that's on purpose.
Club.
That's you. You're
no,
not
because
a stay ready.
I am not a stay ready all-star. I got my Nike kill shots. I got the Roback shorts on at least.
That's good.
You know, but I got the Hawaiian shirt kicking. Brendan, you can outfit me, can't you?
Hey, you're wearing a collared shirt, so you're starting in a good place. You know,
this is
not that
an upgrade for him.
T-shirt.
It is, but here's the thing: it's not that I don't have collared shirts. It's that I don't have a lot of polos.
Gotcha.
But you have like all the polos, right?
Yeah, no, handful of different brands. I've always been a thrifty guy. I'll go to thrift stores or go right to the clearance rack. But now that I've working in the industry, I've become a little bit of a brand snob. I like this, I like that. Oh, they take care of us, so
yeah.
I'm gonna wear that. But it's nice to have options.
Now, hopefully I'm not giving away too much of the game here, but if I understand correctly, Roy Williams, who's out here for the Pro-Am, has a new driver that you handed to him?
Yes, so I guess technically my boss, Daryl, handed it to him.
Okay.
But it was a project we've been working on since January. We got to go down to Summit at PGA National, learn about all the new products coming out this year, and got to see some stuff that hadn't been released yet, hadn't been embargoed. So they flashed up the pictures of TaylorMade's designer series. There's a couple different ones, and I saw it, and in my notebook I just go, Coach Brown, Coach Davis, Coach Williams. I'm like, one of them has to end up with one of these, so I'm glad we can make it happen today, and he seemed to be pretty excited.
Okay.
So you flag him down on the range. Roy's very particular now. I'm slightly surprised this
I'm with you, because that was my curiosity as well.
Honestly, anybody putting a club in the bag after 5 swings on the range is an aggressive move, regardless of who you are. Pro golfer, first time out there. So, we're not going to talk about the first one, but I saw about 5 or 6 go pretty dang straight and far. And on first tee, he knocked it right down the middle after some good tee shots from his partner.
So this is the new TaylorMade.
Yes, the QI10, it's the designer series.
And it's Carolina blue.
Yes, it has a Carolina blue face. There's some Carolina blue accents on it, and then last minute we decided to throw the Carolina blue Golf Pride grip on there to really top it
the white
off.
and blue one.
Yeah, the black and Carolina blue.
Okay,
we don't have the white and black.
The white one's pretty sharp. But
yeah.
Would Roy use a 13 wood?
No, never. Although he does use the broomstick putter, which I'm about to harass him about when we go find him on the course.
All right,
I
we'll
really
go find
wanted
him.
to bring out an 8x10 of him. Have you seen the picture with him with the putter like he's faking breaking it over his knee? I'm like, that'd be a good pic to have.
I have not seen that.
If you search Roy Williams golf, because I was trying to see what's he playing? Is there a current picture of his bag or something? And I saw that pic that comes up the most.
All right, I'll have to look that up.
So
I'll have to look that up.
He plays a Pro V1, and for his retirement, I got him a Titleist. I didn't know you, so I didn't get a great discount, but I had to buy a dozen 9s, a dozen 0s, and a dozen 4s.
Okay.
So 903. I got him 903 because that's his career win total. He also had 9 Final Fours and 3 national championships.
That's a really thoughtful gift.
So we're at
ACC tournament.
We're at the ACC tournament, and not Roy, but his best friend who was sitting with him goes, "Oh, you're the guy who gave the greatest gift of all time." And I was like,
What are you talking?
"What are we talking about?" He's like, "The 903." And I was like, "Oh, I see this little." But Roy, like you say, golf, like you think Roy's competitive in basketball, which we can all agree. Forget it. In golf, forget it.
Look, when
he gets mad at me when I talk about the broomstick putter. Like, he gets mad.
We sat down with Roy. Joe leveraged his relationship with Roy Williams, and we did a podcast after he retired. And he has all sorts of stuff in his office. He was in the process
like
of
the
moving.
Kansas City Star or something.
Yeah, but like we're talking. This guy's a multiple national championship winner.
Didn't want to talk about that.
No, he had this newspaper clipping. I guess it was at a pro-am.
I believe he was playing with Tom Watson.
Okay.
And he kept making these putts.
Yeah.
And Watson was just like,
and he had that clipping. He was so proud of it. I mean, look, man,
the Kemper Open Pro.
Once you've been
golf
so
does that to
successful somewhere else, you're just like, okay, on to the next one.
No, but I'm convinced that's what golf does to you, because you're never done with golf.
There's no achieve. It can always be better, score-wise, wins-wise, pars-wise. It doesn't even matter.
It does not matter.
Yeah.
It is a very fickle game, because back when I tried to play it, when I didn't have kids and I had time, you know how it is. You get that one hole where it's easy. It's easy.
You still have that, though. You still have that one hole that brings you back.
I always have one of them. Anytime I go back out there, I'll have one hole where it's easy off the tee. I'll have an amazing pitch onto the green. I'll get par, and it's like,
this is
if
why.
I just do this more often.
I keep seeing the meme go around where it's like a 15 handicap can hit a tour level shot at any moment, but none of us are ever going to get out there and hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball,
dunk,
or make a free throw even in the playoffs with no time left. That's that fickle thing that brings you back.
Okay, so before we say goodbye, I do want my goal after today is to when we're here next year, I want to make sure that Joe is a full-fledged golf influencer.
Okay.
How do we get started at the PGA Tour Superstore for that?
Well, as we got Jackson, his son, fit, which was a really good experience. Clubs came in quick, got to go out and play there. But, we were in a good spot. I actually just had another guy come into the store. He goes by Jesus of Golf. He's actually going to be
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yes, and he looks exactly as you'd imagine. He's a long drive guy, but he's actually in final round of U.S. Open qualifying. He's playing over at Duke on June 3rd.
First thing I need to come up with is the hook.
Are water hazards not a problem for this guy?
No, funny enough, Eric Lottery, the influencer, will be out today. He calls him the Walker. He's got a nickname for everybody, so Jesus is the Walker.
So, maybe.
See, you would like golf influencers.
Maybe I can leverage my background and be the Jesus of golf. But
what's Joe's nickname going to be?
Yeah, what's it going to be?
You have to have a hook. That's the most important part. Is to have a hook.
You got to find a hook.
Yes, that's where we have to start.
You could have the most ridiculous patterns on the course. You could do that.
No, well, I think Fat's already got that one, and Fat's already got Fat, so I can't even do that. But Brendan, I want to give him a plug because he did.
Yep.
We went over there. Jackson, my 16-year-old, we went over there. He needed new irons. I said to him, I go, I'll give you 2 minutes here to tell this story because I like this story. Jackson plays golf at Garner High School. He shoots an 87 at the regional, and the kid from Broughton shoots a 67. And he looks at me and he goes, I want, but it was the first time he really said to me, I want to get better. I said, okay, well, we'll start here. Number one, you got to play more. Number one. Number two, we'll go and get you some better clubs. So we went, and Brendan had him on the. At first, I thought he was going to go Titleist, TaylorMade, whatever. Brendan had him in these Strixons, which Brooks plays, and they're great clubs. But the math was 10, 15 yards a club to his clubs. And I'm sitting here going, well, we just found you 10 strokes right there.
Your
right
7
away.
iron becomes your 6 iron.
Yeah,
your 6 iron becomes your 5 iron.
We just found you a bunch of strokes right there. So that part's good. But then I said, well, we'll take a look at his driver. Hits the driver, and Brendan said, there's not a $600 difference between your driver and what I can put you in. So no hard sell, none of that stuff. He's really was trying to help him get better. So I appreciate that.
And if you're in Raleigh, it's between the Wegmans and the Costco.
Yes.
All Six Forks.
All 6 Forks and Falls of Noose.
Nobody knows where anything is in that area other than,
it's by the Wegmans.
It's by the Wegmans and the Costco. All right, now I know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's just that general area. All right, very, very cool. Well, thanks for coming through. Thanks for the insight on the Roy Club. And next, again, this is the project. Joe Giglio, golf influencer. You got to work on that.
You can't work miracles.
Hey,
even if we can just get some invite to play some nice courses
Right,
here and there, like,
that works.
that's all I'm looking for.
Now suddenly
man.
Joe is all in, man. He's all in on that. Brendan, thanks, man.
No, thank you guys.
One of these days, man, we're going to turn you an influencer. I'm hell bent on this.
I need a hook.
Well, maybe you are the golfer who brings the meats to the course.
Oh, I'd love to be that guy.
Right?
I'm so dialed into their hot dogs right now. I can't even lie to you, man. I wish I could go there and just get like normal things that most people get at the butcher's market. I can't. Their hot dogs are so good.
If you find what you like, just like I'm look, the signature steak tips are called signature steak tips for a reason. They move units, man, because they're really, really good. And I'll say this, if you are wary of working a grill, it's really hard to screw up steak tips.
And they put the same stuff on the
really
chicken
hard
breast.
to do it.
Same seasoning.
I have accidentally overcooked the steak tips. Still good.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Throw them on a bun, melt a little
man.
cheese,
It's
throw
good
a little
stuff.
mayo in there.
So head on over to thebutchersmarkets.com. Also, big thanks to Hometown Realty for sponsoring Ovias and Giglio. Check them out, myhtr.com. Again, that's myhtr.com. You can buy, you can sell with confidence. That's the most important part about this. Look, we're here in a part of Raleigh that is quickly getting changed over. And maybe you want in on the ground floor of that. There's a lot of new construction that's taking place in this part of Raleigh. Hometown Realty can help you out with that. So check them out, myhtr.com. Joining us in studio, head coach, NC Central, LeVelle Moton's hanging out with us at Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Yes. We're not kidding. I was not kidding you when I said you basically grace us with your presence every day.
I'm always here.
You're always here.
We look out the window, we see the mural.
I'm always here.
So for those who are like, wait, what are Ovias and Giglio talking about? There's a mural of LeVelle Moton with your championship trophies, your connections. I always see the Enloe Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if people are watching in studio, I got the Enloe bumper sticker on the back because I got my kids there. How'd that mural come about?
Man, it was, wow. I think it was a couple of years ago. And the city of Raleigh initially came to me and they said, we wanted to name a street after you. And I was like, because the street wasn't where I grew up.
And you got the park too.
Right. So it started with the street.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, I said, nah, because I just didn't grow up there. So they said, well, how about we name the park after you? And I was like, all right, cool. So the community had to sign off on it. And it was just unanimous. And then they said, look, we got these areas. The original mural was going to be at the Marble Museum on the corner.
Yep.
Right. And they said, we were thinking about putting a mural of you right there. And I was like, what kind of mural? And they showed me like the graphics and it was just a bunch of pictures of me. And I was like, nah, that's corny. Like nobody want to see a collage of me. Right. And I said, if you do something like that, include all the organizations, the people that were significant to me, the schools, the people, the foundation, like my grandmother, like let people be able to see it and gather inspiration from it. So at the last minute, they said, I want you to look at this site right here. And we went up there and I was like, wow, that's incredible. So shout out to Adam. He created it. And then Sean, I don't know if you know Sean Koenig, like
know the name.
He's incredible. Like the spray painter. He did it. And it's like a tourist spot. I get tagged in that, in that mural maybe like 40 times a day. People tagging me like I've never seen it before. So they're just taking pictures with it. So it's great, man.
So
great.
I tagged it and sent it to the Kentucky AD in their search committee. I did my part. I tried.
Yeah,
you're having a whole convention for this thing. I just want you to know I tried.
Yeah. Well, I bring up the mural and how you kind of wanted it all set up and you wanted to tie all these things together because I think it does lead into what you're doing this week with this next up. I guess it's a coaches convention, essentially what you got coming on this weekend.
Yes. Myself and Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think everybody know we're pretty good friends. And I go to training camp every year. Maybe 7-8 years ago, we were just sitting in a dorm room in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and we were just talking. And he was basically saying like, man, it's crazy how close we are because you're a basketball guy, I'm a football guy. And I just basically told him, I said, the gift of my career is that I had to learn it at the grassroots level. And so I created a philosophy of my own. I created an identity on my own. But that's also the curse of my career too, because you don't have the stamp of approval from a Patino, Roman, whoever, Coach K.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You know the cosign in this business.
Yeah.
And he was pretty much the same way. And so he said, man, we're on the back end of our careers. Let's plant some seeds for some trees that we'll probably never see grow. And it's ironic you mentioned the Kentucky thing because Calipari is the one who introduced this. And I didn't know Calipari was from Pittsburgh. I don't know if you guys know that, right? I found that out later on. But I said, no, I'll take the initiative on it. In the last couple of years, I just didn't have the time or energy to do it, but it was on my spirit and my heart to do it this year. So what we did, we invited 15 coaches from the men's side and 15 coaches from the women's side that's really excelling in their career. These coaches are Division IIs, low major Division Is, mid-major Division Is, mid-major assistants, and Power 5 assistants. We're just giving them an opportunity. Years ago, there was this thing called the Villa 7. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but the Villa 7 was started by Norwood Teague, who was the AD at Minnesota in VCU and Raleigh resident.
Yeah.
Norwood and Mike Ellis started the Villa 7, and they had 50 assistant coaches in Portland, and they was backed and sponsored by Nike. And those coaches, they connected those coaches with search firms and athletic directors. So basically, you was interviewing for your potential employee. Well, the disciples of that Villa 7 was Kevin Keats, Shaka Smart, Will Wade, all of these, Anthony Grant, all these guys were disciples of, the Villa 7. So I just told Mike, let's just do a black minority Villa 7. We ain't got time to reinvent the wheel. Okay. You're busy. I'm busy. So let's just do it that way where we're giving, these minority candidates access and opportunities because that's the cry, right? And even from the search firm and athletic administration standpoint, like they're not really encountered with a lot of black and minority coaches as well, right? And when something happens that's drastic in our country, everybody hollers racism. And I'm sure some of that in some of those worlds or whatever, but a lot of it is familiarity or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Right. Athletic directors, they just don't spend enough time with you. So we're going to have an opportunity to cultivate these relationships. So Myron Metcalf from ESPN is coming in. He's going to go over the do's and don'ts of the interviewing process so we can just prepare them for the next step of the job.
There's so many different ways that I would like to go about this topic because you think I'm kidding about the Kentucky thing, but the truth of the matter is with your connections and the people that you know, and given where that search was, even take all that out of it, like even at this stage at 49, like you deserve that chance. Whether you ever want to leave Central or not, you deserve that chance. And I think people look at it and go, well, what have they done? And it's, what has he done? And I'm like, you know how hard it is I don't need to tell you, you know how hard it is to coach in the MEAC, even before the portal and everything else. Like you are literally, every team basically has the same talent. Think about that. Think about Calipari and the advantage that he's had for the last however many years. Roy Williams and the advantage that he's had. And Roy will be the first person to tell me, I'm the coach. I put the team together. That's part of coaching. But the truth of the matter is you have a built-in advantage at those schools because you have a better roster. You have more talent.
Absolutely.
Right? So what you have to do and what everyone else in your league has to do, by the way, and you just happen to beat them more than you lose, you have to outcoach everybody. Yeah. Because the talent's pretty equal. Yeah. Now, think about that now where we are in NIL. We just saw a team win a national championship with a transfer from Loyola, Maryland. Their best shooter was from Loyola, Maryland. Their best scoring guard was from ECU. So I look at this and I go, we're not there yet.
Right.
If you can't even get a look at something like that, fine. It's Kentucky. It's a blue blood. Fine. Yeah. But the truth of the matter is how many ACC jobs have been open that you're more than qualified for that. Like you said, the familiarity, you can't even get. And that's where I feel like we need more of these conversations and more of this. I don't know if it's more of an education process or if it's just like
it's all of the above. To your point, I think since 1979, and this is the facts of it, I think there's only been, it was John Chaney who left Chaney State and went to Temple. There was Jeff Capel Sr. Who left A&T and went to Old Dominion. Anthony left Norfolk State and went to FIU. And I think Sean left Mississippi Valley State and went to Morehead State. But that was the Patino effect also, you know what I'm saying? But I think that's been the only four since like 1979. And that's really tough. So to your point, the athletic directors, there's no level of culpability anymore. right? They can really say, they can put it off on the search firms can put it off on them. So it's no culpability. But what I figured out is that a lot of people struggle because they just want to win the press conference now.
Sure.
And so hiring a name that's just been recycled throughout the years, if I'm an athletic director, I got less questions to have to answer than to hire a HBCU basketball coach, to a fan base who is unfamiliar with HBCU basketball, to a fan base who probably, once you're unfamiliar, you don't respect it as much, right? So now you got to dig deep, and now those comes the questions. The questions begin to pose, like, what has he done, and so on and so forth. And so now you got to go and you got to defend yourself. Yeah. That's an awkward position to be in. I don't think people, well, a lot of people understand, but I don't think a lot of people understand that we just became Division I in 2009.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, you didn't even have the chance your first 4 years to make the tournament.
Yeah. So since then, we've won 8 championships, 4 regular season, 4 tournaments, and we finished second. And so essentially in 15 years, we won 8 championships and finished second 4 more times. So we've been in the top 2 of the league 12 years. Right. So that's
all while now. Basketball has changed dramatically. Even more so. You were basically doing what the transfer portal was before.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And now you're losing your best player. Norfolk State's losing his best player. Yeah. North Carolina A&T's losing their best player.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here going, your 2014 team will never happen again.
Yeah.
And you've had to make peace with that.
Yeah, that's special.
If guys that you found, guys that you developed,
because it's no more loyalty. It's no more, man, thank you for finding me. And, those guys, Poobie Chapman had 1 scholarship offer.
Right.
Jeremy Ingram had 1 scholarship offer, right? That was Division I, Division II, Division III. Poobie might have had a couple, but that was a special team. We were getting guys who nobody else, I don't want to say they didn't want, they just didn't turn enough rocks over to find.
Sure.
And then we built the culture, and we was fighting. Like, everybody was fighting. Everyone had a chip on their shoulder. And I remember the day that Poobie Chapman came into my office in the summer. And he said, "Coach, who are we playing next year?" And I said, "NC State." He said, "We're going to beat them." And the look in his eye, I would never forget it, because when we won, he said, Didn't I tell you? And I was like, wow. Like, he really saw something that I didn't see at that particular time, right? And so that's a special thing when you can galvanize a group of young men and inspire a group of young men. And not only that, they can inspire you to achieve some things that everyone else thought was impossible.
But now you're kind of like an incubator.
Yeah.
At that level, as Joe pointed out. You got to
adjust. Now it's, it's hard.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll be blunt, with opportunities and whatnot, why stay at Central as the job continues to get harder?
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be easy anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, everybody has their problems, right? I learned that a long time ago and how I grew up. I was like, man, I wish I could live like, and then you find out, no, they just refinanced that home. You know what I'm saying?
But you like to look at their credit cards.
Yeah. Right. Money.
I have that conversation with my kids all the time. I'm like, buddy, you don't know how they're financed.
Yeah,
their eyeballs.
like you just don't know. And then you become comfortable in that piece. I've had ample opportunities to, go get some mid-major jobs. I had 3 NBA opportunities, all of those things. And so I just kind of turned them down, because even the NBA,
talk about being hired to be fired, man.
Yeah, oh my goodness. And they don't even give you an explanation. It's just like, you find that out on ESPN. You're like, hold on, that's me. Now you got young kids, and now your family got to relocate. And so for me, the most important thing in my life has always been stability, because I've lived my life, my entire childhood was just, I didn't know. It was uncomfortable not knowing. And so once I can understand something and be stable, I'm kind of comfortable in that asset.
And this gives you an opportunity with Next Up to give that wisdom, network. I mean, I always liken the Final Four to one big giant college basketball coaches convention. You go to the hotel and everybody's just kind of networking in that regard.
Yeah.
And this is more of that for you?
Yeah, but it's more intimate and more personal, right? And so at the Final Four, people think networking is just handing out business cards and saying, let's do lunch. And it never happens, right? And that's been the problem. Back in the day, and you guys understand and know this. Like John Thompson, Nolan Richardson, my mentor George Ravelin, like John Chaney, those guys were incredible in just leading the pack and the next wave of coaches behind them. And they were fighting and suppressing their own wants so others people's wants could be fulfilled. And then you had the Black College Association and things of that nature that really, fought hard. I remember John Thompson walked off the floor with Prop 48. He just felt like it was, an unfair thing to do to minorities. And that's the principle that they were standing on. Mm-hmm. Well, coaches don't do that anymore, right? Everyone is concerned about their money.
Yeah, it's all business now. It's only getting worse.
About
that was a curiosity because, like, Joe and I, we caught the tail end of Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski. Mm-hmm. And in each instance, when we had done this podcast run specifically with Roy Williams and Joe leveraged his relationship with Roy, the commonality in talking with Roy and Krzyzewski, remember when we kind of ambushed him in his own hotel room to talk about, hey, let's talk about Roy Williams. They all kind of said a similar thing. And we actually saw it in Coach K's Farewell Tour where they were trying to bring in other coaches. And he kept saying, look, I got in when everybody was still kind of like in this community.
Right.
And while you wanted to beat these guys, there was still a level of a camaraderie because there's only so many of these jobs.
Yeah.
But he said at the end of it, various, whether you're successful or not, it became more about money. It became more about all these other initiatives that took place, and you lost sight of the fact that, no, you did this because you wanted to coach, you wanted to teach. It's about community and all that kind of stuff. Are you trying to bring it back with a convention like this?
Yeah, and I've always been that. So it's who I am at my heart, right? Like through my charitable works and so on and so forth. Like it's kind of been my sole purpose just to help other people, right? Mm-hmm. I just always felt like God has blessed me to bless others, and that's in every facet of my life. So even in the coaching business, a lot of people don't know this. I was a high school coach, and when North Carolina Central called me to come be the assistant coach, I declined like 3 times. I was like, nah, I'm good. I love my high school job. I didn't know a job where you could have 3 months out of the year at home, so I did that, and I had a great basketball camp. I was training NBA guys. I thought it was the best job on earth, and so finally, Kathy Moore, who was the former superintendent, who was my principal at the time, she looked me in my face and she told me, she said, you need to go back to your alma mater because what you have to offer this world is much greater than Sanderson High School. That's the only reason I went back to North Carolina Central. Now the rest is history, but I'm seeing that what Roy and Coach K went through. And I'm like, it's not a camaraderie. It's just like every man for himself. It's no fraternity anymore. You don't really like other coaches. And I don't, what I'm saying? It's like, I don't really like all these guys. I don't hang with them. And, now me and Mike is cool. I'm closer to an NFL football coach than this guy. I got maybe a couple of guys in the business, but now I'm thinking about the young assistant coaches and young coaches in this business that has to maneuver amongst all this. And it's a dog eat dog world. It's shark infested waters. And I was like, nah, let's bring some level of calmness back to it. Let's bring some resolve back to this. Let's bring some principle and some values back to this thing. And, that's what the next up conference is pretty much going to be about.
Throwing the starfish back into the sea, trying to help. Let's get into your fandom a little bit because
let's do it.
I have multiple questions for you about your Steelers.
Let's do it.
Can you please, in a moment of privacy, please,
nobody's listening,
ask Mike Tomlin, what was your fascination with Matt Canada? Is it because of his son and the loyalty at Maryland? Because Matt was at Maryland with his son. Because LeVelle, I cannot explain it. You said loyalty,
right?
And maybe that's it. Maybe sometimes that's all that is,
right?
When I tell you, I told people who are affiliated with the Steelers, I can call your plays right now. You're going to run 3 plays, and I'm going to tell you all 3 of those plays. And it took no less than 1 preseason game for them to call me and say, all of the people I talked to with the Steelers are like, how did you know this about Matt Canada? And I was like, because I watched them play.
Right.
But apparently, my man, your guy, did not watch. Is he the most stubborn person on the planet?
Well, you know what?
There's loyalty and stubbornness.
Yeah, like we are. To be good, you gotta be that. Yeah, that would describe me to a T. But in all honesty, and this is the craziest thing. I never talked to Mike about Steeler business.
You don't.
I never talked to him about stealing business.
So you're like, I read a GQ profile on Nick Saban once, and his best buddy is this guy who he golfs with, and apparently he found the one guy
didn't care about Alabama
who did
football.
not care about Alabama football, and that was his boy.
Right.
And
I could never do it.
Right.
You could never go with Nick
and I'm a
Saban and be like, I'm
fanatic.
good.
That's the craziest thing. Like I go back with, I was Franco in the backyard.
So you got to be. So at this point, you're just used to it, but it's got to be like at no point did you feel like, all right, now seriously, Russell Wilson, what are you seeing in Russell?
See, I like the Russell move.
I like the Russell move.
I think Mike's the only one who can get anything out of Russ.
I'm with you on that.
I like the Russ move. I love the Justin Fields move. Yeah. I thought we had a
scratch off ticket.
Right. I think our defense, like, and the other thing, we just haven't been healthy. Right. So, and people forget about injuries in football because they're so common. And then before you know it, you're watching a football game, and as any sport, if your best players aren't out there, it's not going to look as good. And then, like with the Steelers, like you got to think what's best for a young quarterback in that particular sense. Kenny, right? Is it like you always got to think in the frame mind of a quarterback to say, like, is this best for his development or whatever it is going to be? And so, despite all that, we were still right there, right? Like we were just still right there to make a run. But I love the roster this year. I thought we had a great draft. I think it's obvious that we're trying to compete up front in the trenches and establish our identity there, because the reality is it's only one team in the AFC that has Pat Mahomes. Yeah. And as long as he's there, you can't duplicate that, what he's doing. So you're going to have to offset it by having another identity that's physical, tough, and, going to grind it out a little bit and keep him off that field.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring it up that way, because the AFC is just stacked with dudes.
Yeah, it's got some dudes over there.
Yeah.
Man. Like Josh,
it's not just Patrick Mahomes. It's
you got Josh and Joe
too.
weren't healthy last year in Cincinnati, but like these guys can put 35 on the board easy, right? So it's going to take 38 or 40 to beat them. So you got to say, hold on, how do we best neutralize these guys? Well, number one, he can't throw a touchdown if he's on the bench. Right? So let's do that. Let's milk this clock and, find a way, man, because Pat Mahomes he's done it to everyone.
You don't talk football with him.
We talk football. I don't talk Steeler football because I understand, like, the worst thing that I hate from my friends.
Why'd you go triangle too?
People calling me talking about basketball. Man, if you don't get off this, so I try to give that same respect to him.
Yeah,
like if he bring it up, then we'll engage. But other than that, I'm like, man, you don't want to. And if our wives talk, they don't talk about basketball. They talk about wife stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't question what he does, because he's an expert in what he does, and it's hard, man. Like it's not an easy job. Like none of it's easy, man. It's a difficult job to line up and stop Pat Mahomes. Like that's a difficult job.
Yeah, and everybody's trying to find the weaknesses. I mean, this guy spent I don't know how many seasons with you're gonna rue the day that you needed that you got rid of Tyreek Hill, and they've been fine.
Yeah, it's like good gracious, right? It's
they
like,
find a way.
They just find a way, and now I think Andy Reid has hit his stride up there, right? Yeah, and it's just something to consider, man. But it's tough.
Yeah. Speaking of hard, it's funny when the Carolina Hurricanes got bounced from the Stanley Cup playoffs. I was asked a question. I was like, what went wrong? It's like, well, first off, winning the Stanley Cup is really, really hard. Yeah. So I mean, sometimes what are you going to do? Which is why I think the conversation around the Celtics is kind of interesting, and I can see it both ways. Look, as casual.
Speaking of your teams,
your fandom. Yeah. I mean, look, as casual Miami Heat fan over here, I can point out that, Jimmy was hurt and Tyler Hero was. I mean, there's a reason why at the end of the season, Pat was very open about the fact we need these guys on the court, right? So I get all that stuff. And then you deal with the Knicks. That was a war of attrition as they were losing guys. And of course, we know the Pacers aren't at 100%, and they swept them, but it was a competitive sweep, and people are trying to figure out, is it because Boston didn't smoke this team and they weren't challenged throughout the entire Eastern Conference side of things? Is this going to bode well once they get to the finals when they're actually challenged by whoever comes out of the West?
I think what people forget, all of us, is that just because a star may be hurt, a Jimmy Butler or, a Julius Randle or, a Tyrese Halliburton, the other guys are still NBA guys who's capable, right? And you be like, oh, so like what happens is they insert someone else and now you blaming Tibbs for, well, Wayne, he play him all year. No, he's just an NBA basketball player. He's just not better than this guy.
Yeah.
But he's more than capable, man. It's only 450 of them up there, so they are capable of getting some buckets.
I feel like there's a tangent there when it comes to the conversation around Caitlin Clark. It's like people forget, hey, the WNBA actually might be the hardest league to get into.
It's really difficult. It's the only league I know, and I had this conversation with someone about Caitlin Clark, man, and I just hate it, right? And I was like, because I love the girl, right? Mm-hmm. And then on Twitter or social media, it instantly becomes racial. Right, the whole dynamic just becomes racial.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm like, no, man. Like, look,
didn't the foul on Angel Reese give it away?
Yeah,
it's
like,
not really racial.
Basketball,
it's
the
younger generation. They're not thrilled with those two for their NIL.
Yeah.
No,
there's a little petty jealousy.
Oh, absolutely.
No? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not black and white. That's green.
And I just said, like, maybe a year ago, it was so much chatter, and the narrative was, hey, how do we grow this WNBA league? And I'm all for it because I just love basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see some of the WNBA players hating on Caitlin Clark. I'm like, well, that ain't the way to grow the league, right? And so I said this the other day. I said Caitlin Clark is the 1979 equivalent. I mean, she's the equivalent of the 1979 Larry Bird, right? And so if you look back, the most watched games in NCAA history was 1979 Magic versus Bird. Which is crazy because it's more people on Earth now, which means it's more TVs.
Right.
But that game still trumps all, right?
Right.
And what's crazier about it is, as much of sports fans we are, you can't name 3 people on Michigan State's starting 5, and you can't name one other starter on Indiana State, right? So we all know why that game generated so much viewership. But David Stern was so smart that he was like, look, I ain't going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to take this same marketing plan and utilize it in a league where it was drug infested, low in attendance, didn't have any television contracts, television
tape delay.
It was on tape delay, right? Didn't have any sponsor marketing dollars or none of that. So he just implemented that. And that's where the game of the week came from. Magic wasn't even the best basketball player on his team. That was Kareem, but it was always the Magic and Bird. And I was living in Boston at that time, so I saw the hype around it. And I said, if the WNBA can just follow that blueprint, because now you have it, right? And that 1979 equivalent is Caitlin Clark. Don't fight it, just embrace it, right? And again, the NBA didn't even have chartered flights then. The Pistons, I think, was the first team to get chartered flights. Right? Because they were trying to compete against the Celtics. So just allow that young lady to grow this game, evolve, allow these salaries to increase. Because right now, the average basketball player in the WNBA is making $36 an hour. That ain't.
I think one thing people forget too, and certainly it's a longer season in the NBA, but there's no break. Like they just went from their college season to now and
get drafted.
She really did just go to all Madden level from like rookie, like and that includes her teammates.
Yeah.
If we're being perfectly honest about who she was playing with at Iowa, we talk about this in football all the time. Quarterbacks in college, like you're playing against maybe 4 NFL defensemen in college, right? Now you go to the NFL. Guess what? Like your point, all 11 of them are NFL defensemen.
Yeah.
So it becomes a lot harder for you.
Yeah.
For her, I feel like and we've seen this a little bit in the last few games. She needs to get her swagger back in terms of I shoot from anywhere. That's my game.
Right.
You are, your logo Dame. That's who you are. Yeah, exactly. And I get you're trying to fit in and you're a rookie. And I heard LeBron make some comments about this, about from his rookie season and how, difficult the adjustment can be even when everyone's looking at you, because people, to your point, are still going, I'm a professional.
Yeah.
I've been doing this. Don't tell me that I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just think she needs to get a little bit of her swagger, but I do think we're not talking about, she's probably tired.
Right.
Like that's a long season with no break.
And to your point, like the thing you said is there's no break. When guys in the NBA get drafted, they go on the honeymoon of it.
Yeah.
But then they have a summer league to help develop.
Yes.
And what do we all say in the summer league? Oh, Giannis is, not Giannis, but Wemby's a bust.
Right.
He's not strong.
Wemby is a bust.
Right.
After one game.
I told y'all, man, he's trash. That's what social, right? Look at this guy, right? Because what happens is they just got to get their feet wet and adjust. Yeah. That's what good players do. In high school, to go from middle school to high school, you just got to adjust. to go from high school to college. You just got to adjust. To go from college to pro, you just got to, it's good players figure it out. And so once they have that time to adjust and say, oh, okay, this game slows down, because right now it's they're Jamie Foxx in Any Given Sunday. Remember, Pacino asked him, like, what you see, man? It's just all a blur out there, right? But then it just calms down. And when it calms down and you can see everybody on that floor, that means you have it, man. So she has to go through it's a necessary evil for her right now. And she's playing against some damn good basketball players too.
LeVelle Moton, I mean, I appreciate you coming through. Fascinating conversation as always. If anybody wants to get involved with Next Up, I mean, for the typical listener, you know, this is something that, oh, okay, that's a pretty cool event, but maybe there's somebody who's trying to come up, trying to get to that next level. Is there a way to reach out for something like this?
It's a private event, and it's individual selection. So we kind of select, you know, who we quote unquote deem as the next up coaches.
Was it your call to bring Julius Hodge through?
I can't stand Julius
from
Hodge.
Harlem. Come on,
can't stand Julius Hodge.
Jeez.
Shout out to Jules. That's my little brother right there, man. So he's, you know, Jules has humbled himself as a basketball player, right? Because the hardest thing is just being a great basketball player, then thinking you can go be a great coach, going to the NBA, and then we see how that works.
Yeah,
but he's humbled himself. He's always loved the kids and working with young people. And I think he went out with Herb. No, he was at Buffalo for a while. Then he went with Herb to Santa Clara, and now at Arkansas Little Rock. So he's probably ready for a job right now. So he'll be in front of some search firms and some athletic directors to kind of sell himself.
And then Nolan Smith too, on the completely other end of the spectrum. In that, look, he had a lot of time at Duke. Not the greatest experience at Louisville, which we don't need to get into, but that's something that can burn you out, though.
Yeah, but it can also, you can look at it as a gift too, right? Because if you look at a lot of these assistants from these blue blood and Power 5 programs, when they go get a job, they're not ready because all they've done is recruit 3 pros a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, that ain't reality, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, that's not reality. So that's almost the curse of going there, just sitting over there winning and letting that brand do all the talking and everything for you.
Yeah.
You know, you got to roll up. What comes with losing? Like, you got to lose before you win. You got to roll up your sleeves and just kind of figure this thing out. And so those negative experiences, you've experienced those before. And the one thing about losing, you never do anything to walk that line of losing again. So now you learn from it, right? So I think Nolan will learn from, you know, what happened at Louisville, because again, it's a tough situation. It's in the ACC now. It's like whoever has the most money is going to win. Is the NIL is pretty much money laundering, legal money laundering. That's what it is, right? This is what Al Capone with the jail for, so y'all say. But now y'all allowing this to go in here. It's like, yo, give me a pot of money that used to be illegal, and I just paying players for play. Hey, you want to come here? I got $200,000. Sure. These kids are coming and not even taking a visit. So that's what it is now. So the landscape of college basketball has changed drastically.
Yeah, Kevin had somebody at the hockey game, a recruit, because I was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I got this recruit. And I'm like, you still have to do that? You can't just...
just cash out. Just cash out.
What are we doing?
Just cash out.
I'm not gonna lie to you though. One of my favorite things is to see former UNC and Duke assistants when they come through PNC Arena on a different bench. And when the Hall of Famer's not there, I sit there and their interaction. And we love Jeff Cable, but when I see the interaction with some of these guys, where I'm like, oh, you mean when Kay's not there to help you, the whistle's just a little bit different. Weird. You've never experienced this, sir.
Things are a little different.
You don't know.
Everybody's been spoiled over there, man. That brand, like it's sport. Jeff figured it out because he became head coach at 26, right, at VCU. And then, so he had to go figure it out. But it's tough sitting over there with those guys. Every call, we always in the bonus first. We in the double bonus before 15 minutes. I ain't used to this right here.
LeVelle, appreciate you hanging out, man.
Man, you guys the best. Thank you for having me, man. Let's do it again.
We will. We will. Big thanks to State Farm for sponsoring Ovias and Giglio. Check them out. InsureGarner.com, theoginsurance.com, or call Matt Davis directly at 919-779-8277. We've been talking a lot about homes. There's a lot of homes around here. You want to get these things insured. Is there an increase in rate for living on a golf course?
Oh, yeah.
Because you got golf balls that are coming your way, right?
No doubt.
Okay. I'm sure Matt Davis can find some nooks and crannies to help you save money on that sort of thing, right?
The only thing you need to do is call Matt.
Yes.
Have a conversation. Hey, and a lot of people who listen to the show call and say, hey, this is what I'm paying right now.
Yeah.
Can you help me? And Matt's always honest. If he can help you, you got yourself a deal. But he's also going to tell you, hey, I can help you.
Yeah.
And so, the best thing you can do, call, have a conversation. I would say 95% of the time, you're going to save yourself some money.
I'm sure if I drive around the neighborhood, I'm going to see some Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority signs.
Yes.
I'm going to take credit for all of those.
Take the credit, please.
Check it out. bugsbite.com. You can bundle and save, or if you're just looking for straight up mosquito treatments right now is the prime time to do it. You can pay as you go. I get it at the beginning of the year. I bundle and save. That's how you go about it. And you can find out more at bugsbite.com. I can't stress this enough. You can get whole home taken care of thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. And big thanks to Sporkle. Jason helped us out, OG Scoreboard, with our OG birthday bash earlier this month. We had a great time. Maybe you're looking for a fun time with trivia. Sporkle's got you covered. Check out sporkle.com/OG Triangle. Help Jason out. Support our guy. You can go to Shady's in Garner for the music trivia on Thursday nights, or you can go to Driftwood Cantina on Sunday. They also have spots during the week at House of Hops at their 3 locations. You can find out more, again, at sporkle.com/OG Triangle. We've been hanging out here at Raleigh Country Club. You know what I could use right now? Not a transfusion, just a nice beer, dude. That's what I would like.
Our friends at Crank Arm can definitely help you.
I might find myself at Crank Arm later today in downtown Raleigh. Check them out, crankarmbrewing.com. Be on the lookout. I think we're cooking up some sort of event. Literally
did
cooking
you say
up.
Cooking?
Yes, literally cooking up something.
Look what you did.
At Crank Arm here in the near future. So be on the lookout for that. Again, crankarmbrewing.com. You can check out Butcher's Market where they sell Crank Arm Brewing. All right, let's go to the YouTube comment section for Hey Joe. Exit 364 is my default rest stop to and from the beach. This is from yesterday's podcast. Glad I'm not the only one who remembers these things. I'm like, I just responded, I'm glad I'm not the weirdo here. And then John was wondering, I always thought exit 364 was an interesting place to have a rest stop when you have restaurants and a truck stop at that interchange. I guess the rest stop used to be the only thing there originally. Yes, that used to be. I've always thought it was a weird location, but I'm pretty sure there was nothing there before it. And now they've just kind of built around it. But see, Joe, I'm not the weirdo. There are other people who recognize exits.
Cats in the Cradle, Joey.
What? Look, you know why?
It's definitely something your dad would know the number. Would know where to stop.
Nah. There is a little bit
on
of
his
that.
triptych.
There is a little bit of that with the triptych. Not going to dispute.
No
that.
one knows what a triptych is in our audience.
That's not true. There's people our age that know what a AAA triptych is, man. I love those things, dude.
They were very handy at the time.
Yes, they've got what here at this stop? Cool. All right. Here's what's going on. When I moved here and I didn't know where anything was, the only way that I could really understand stuff is to remember. I didn't remember street names. I remember exits.
Okay.
So
are you from New Jersey?
No, but I'm from South Florida, so I might as well be from New Jersey, right?
Fair.
So, for instance, my parents live in Cary, so I knew the exit that I had to get off on I-40 was exit 287, which is the Harrison Boulevard exit. So I always associate that with exit 287. And there's some various other stops and
whatnot. That's where Tudor and I used to park.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Interesting.
For our trips to Chapel Hill.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh, you guys would meet there and go. Gotcha. Well, just like I know that.
Hey, man, why don't you drive the Hyundai today? I'm gonna have some of these. I'm gonna have some of the heavy water.
For me, I know it's about exit 273. So it gets me off on 54 to get to Chapel Hill to go to games, right? And I also know if there's traffic delays going west on I-40, I know it's usually because something happened around exit 273, 270. So that's the kind of stuff that I have to remember. But yeah, man, I drove around with a map.
It's not a bad thing that I'm saying that you're like your dad with this. Okay. It just seems there's big Hernando energy with this.
All right, just making sure. Just making sure. From Eileen, not a fan of beach boom boxes, but an absolute crime is someone bringing their Bluetooth speaker poolside at a North Raleigh pool when the pool is already playing music over their speakers.
Oh, yeah. That's different.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Now, what if you don't like the music that's being played?
You just, if they're already again, this is what gets back to my beach music.
Yeah.
If you're there early and you mark the territory, you get control of the aux, basically.
Got it.
So, but yeah, if you're at the pool and they're already playing music at the pool, you got to get some headphones, dude.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. From Chris, I relaxed the bluegrass.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, man, okay. He's like, no, not at the beach. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Not at the beach. What kind of bluegrass was it? I'm curious now. I don't know. It was bluegrass.
Got to get some sort of local bluegrass group to do Thunderstruck for us so that we have the rights to it.
All right, we'll get out of here on this. I posted a photo. Roy Williams pointing out to you and me that only me and Michael have these. Michael,
that's right.
Michael Jordan. And you even said it like, these are terrible. But he gets all the stock sizes, right? He gets the sample sizes.
Terrible, but the trick that I've learned from Roy is he wears the size that they make, like one of ones.
Yes, the sample sizes.
The sample size.
Yes.
So, and I'm talking like one of one here, sir.
Oh, I remember when we did the podcast with him. He had boxes of Nikes. He all said, oh, they're all size 9.
Yeah.
Or whatever his size
a little bit
is.
bigger, but
I just know they weren't my size. He did not have 13s. I'm a 13 in a Nike. He is not a size 13.
No. Stylish though, and the new driver, he's going to be on his way.
He's happy about that. Although, as Nada pointed out, you reminded him that sharing fashion taste with Michael isn't necessarily a good thing, right? The minute I see Roy Williams wearing those big baggy Junkos, the Jinkos, then I know we got a problem. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. That is show 200, folks.
Woo!
We've done more than 200 shows, but this is officially
We're
OG200.
not celebrating 200, but we are going to celebrate 201 because that's the area code when I was growing up in Jersey.
That's tomorrow. You're going to get lit tomorrow.
We better be back here.
OG Live tomorrow.
They're free today.
They were free today, but we got free beers in the fridge back in the studio. We'll see you then.